Hey, welcome back. I had the idea of doing more vlog videos, and the idea was, today's Thursday, I'll record one on tomorrow, Friday, and I'll just pick whatever topic I like talking about here, and I'll make a vlog out of it. Maybe that's a bad idea, but maybe just do that to start, so I'm comfortable with the vlogging. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. Just FYI. I had one work-related note, and I know I'm not supposed to talk about work because it's like a top secret, but I'm still just doing training and it's fine. So they did do one thing that was I've been doing a lot of like ethical training and stuff. One of the videos was like about white supremacists, and that was nice. It's like, being a white supremacist is bad, and if you post white supremacist stuff on social media, we'll fire you. I was like, that's good. Good for you guys. And then one of the, it was framed in a weird way, but it was like, you might be asking, like, well, what about my free speech? What about my First Amendment rights? It was saying, like, okay, you could get fired if you post racist stuff online. And then it's like, well, what about my free speech? And then they were like, well, you're kind of held to a higher standard because you're a government employee. I was like, yeah, that's good. Have I said anything racist here? I don't think so. I hope not. This is the only social media I ever do anyway. So, like, if I said anything racist here, let me know and I'll delete it. I gotta delete it. But I don't know. I think they're mostly concerned with, like, promoting violent, like, domestic terrorist groups. Which I've definitely never done that. So I'm safe, I think. But I've promoted Jesus, and he was kind of like a terrorist. He's kind of like sticking it to the man. Anyway. Well, I had to watch a bunch of videos, and I didn't like this one video I had to watch today. It was about it was this management video about, like, how to manage different generations, and the premise, which I don't really agree with, was like, oh, different generations, you have to deal with them differently, and Generation Z, you should talk to them like this, and Generation X, you should talk to them like this. It's kind of ironic because the video I watched right before that was about diversity and discrimination. It's like, you shouldn't treat people differently. So I don't know. I agree more with that than with can I get him? Oh, I got Nessie. I agree that there are some obvious differences between old people and young people. Old people generally have a harder time with technology, but even that's not always true. I was thinking when I was watching it, like, this is kind of like astrology to me. because I'm watching it and they're saying, like, oh, millennials, I wrote down an example. Millennials like feedback more than Gen X. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's true for me. But it's like an astrology thing. Like, they could say the things they say about Gen X, I could be like, oh, that's me. So they were saying, what did they say about Gen X? Like, Gen X doesn't like authority as much. I was like, well, that could kind of be me too. I kind of don't respond well to like people who are super authoritative. I don't think it's I don't think it's the differences between the generations are so small that I don't think they're worth even bringing up or having in your mind while you're managing people. Someone's upstairs. I think it's better to just be like, okay, this person likes it when I give them more feedback. I don't think you should tailor it to be like, okay, this guy's younger, so he's gonna like more feedback, and this guy's older, so he's not gonna like feedback. I don't think that's helpful. I think it's kind of like astrology. Speaking of the stars, I'm pretty big. I was worried I wasn't gonna beat this level, but I think I did okay. Can I get that cloud? Ugh. Yeah. I gotta turn the vibration off. So that was it. That's the only one that I haven't really liked that much. All the other training videos are fine. Give me that tree. I feel like I rolled everything up. Oh, there's a rock right there. I'm gonna get it. There's trees up here. Cool. Yeah, that's really it for that note. The other thing I think this is kind of stupid. He was saying like, oh, the different generations they grew up with. So he said, the baby boomers, they grew up with the space race, and they grew up with the polio vaccine, so they're different than Generation X, because Generation X grew up with the Berlin Wall falling, and millennials grew up with 9/11. And I'm like, we all experienced 9/11. It all affected us in different ways. That's not even worth mentioning to me. I think it's stupid. Like, you experienced the Berlin Wall, who cares? How much is that going to affect your management ability or whatever? I think it's stupid. I turn off the vibration. Feel it, feel it. How do I do that? This one. Yeah, well, I gotta save anyway. I'm gonna do... we're finally finishing that church book club thing, and I'm gonna do it today. Don't feel it, don't feel it. Oh, does a bird shake when vibration is on? That's stupid. I like it. Let's put on headphones. I'm gonna finish that book, and I'm gonna do like a Google Meet thing. So I was proud of myself for that. Like, I didn't have to do that. I could have been like, oh, I'm far away and I can't do it. But I'm gonna do it. So I'm meeting with them today, and I think tomorrow I'm gonna talk about the topics. Because I got some notes. I like that book because it gives me notes and ideas for things to talk about. The thing that I really got the most notes is this idea about election, which is the idea that God picks the people who go to heaven, pretty much. He picks the people who are saved. They're his chosen people, kind of. And then there's like this thought of like, well, is that fair? Like, he picks people? So I'll talk about that tomorrow. Any other tiny note? for 2 minutes. I don't really like these kind of notes, but I've been watching the X-Files, and I like this episode recently called Tithonus. I'm in season 6. I've been watching it for a long time. It's about this guy who takes pictures of people who are about to die because he wants to photograph death, because he wants to die, and so like he wants to see death, and then he thinks like he can trade places with the person who dies. I really liked that episode. I think I liked it. I don't know, they framed, it's not a new idea to be like, oh, if you could live forever, it would actually be bad. What? Like, you think you want to live forever? But it's gonna be bad if you do that. Like, that's not a new idea. But that's kind of like the moral of this story. But they frame it in an interesting way. I guess they model it after Tithonus, who was a Greek person, a Greek god, I think, who he wanted immortality. So he asked Zeus, like, can I have immortality? And Zeus was like, yeah. But he didn't ask Zeus to always keep him young. So Tithonus aged, and he just got older and more gross and turned into a corpse, but he was still alive. So that's kind of the story of this episode of the X-Files. It's like this guy gets older, and he keeps getting older, and he just wants to die. And the way they framed it, I was like, yeah, okay, I understand. This is a good episode. Like, this is a good way to, it's not cliche, or it's a new take on it that's like interesting and cool. And I wrote down a line, that's why I brought this up, because he was like, I think Scully was saying something like, no, like, being alive forever, that you could like help people and that would be okay. Like, you could stop, and she's basically saying, like, you could stop people from dying because you know who's gonna die. And the immortal guy was so apathetic about it, and it really clicked with like sometimes my apathy about life. And he was like, Scully said something like, oh, you loved your wife, didn't you? Don't you wanna, like, I don't know. She said something like, you had a wife, didn't you love her? And he's like, yeah, I loved her. I loved her for 70 years. I watched her, we grew old together, and then she died. And then I didn't love her anymore. Like, this idea that, like, you could really, he summed it up like this, and I'm just making more out of it. He said, he said something like, you want to know how long love lasts? It lasts 70 years. I thought that was a cool idea. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's cool for me because, like, I've never loved anybody, so I'm like, yeah, love is stupid. But I liked that idea that to know that your love can end is such a depressing thing. So that's why he wants to die. He's like, why should I care about anything? Like, the love of my life died, and I don't even care about that anymore. I don't even love her anymore. So what's the point of living if even love doesn't exist forever? Like, why would I want to exist forever if love doesn't exist forever? I'm living longer than I'm supposed to. Humans are supposed to live for 80 years, and then they die. They're not supposed to know what it's like for love to not exist. I liked that idea. But I gotta end. Right? Yeah. Yep. Really? Yeah. Okay. See you tomorrow. Bye.